What is going on? I'm Spencer Tillis.
I'm Kaylina Speakman.
And this is the Delmar Sports Insider. Unfortunately, as you can see, there's no Trey today. He was sick after the NFL released this year's schedule, and he saw there's no winnable games for the Cowboys, but the show must go on, and the show continues for the Colonels as they put their perfect mark on the line this afternoon when they hit the road to take on Easton. We'll see if they could keep that run going.
And Cape Lacrosse was hosting St. Mark's. They were looking to make it 5 straight. Could the Vikings hold off the Spartans?
Plus, the Panthers came to play when they squared off against Sussex Central, the defending state champs. Well, they brought their bats as well. One word, dingers in that one. But we start today with one of the best matchups all week long baseball. Dover, now of course they're off to that red hot start up in the north. Ran into a little trouble with Smyrna, as you recall. Well, they were facing off against a very underachieving Sussex Tech squad, one of the most talented squads, but one that came into this thing just 2-4 on the year. But this ended up being your classic trap game. Matt Warrington on the hill for the Ravens, and he was dealing, gets a strikeout right there in the third. And then Dover finally, though, would eventually break through in a big way. Dimitri Floyd, see ya, a solo blast right there to left. That would help Tech climb back into this thing. And then Justin Hill now would have the answer for Sussex Tech. Down the third base line right here. That'll stay in, and it'll drive in a couple runs to help the Ravens go up 3. Dover, though, not done just yet. Tyler Rosello, he gets all of that one right there. Drives in Floyd and Hiram Davis right there. They come in on the play. Deficit down to just 1. Then Sussex Tech able to make the plays they needed to down the stretch. Kyle Lux provides the insurance with the RBI single up the middle. And how about those Ravens? They get the win 5-3 the final. Now, I got to say, Sussex Tech definitely knew that one. As I said,
talk about an upset.
4-2 going into that, or 2-4, I should say, going into that. They were struggling, and they had a couple of really bad losses. But that was an important one, and they also have a pretty decent conference record at this point. They win again today against William Penn, back up to 500 on the year, right where they really want to be around and thick things. And on the flip side, for Dover, it's a bit of a tough one. I mean, they shouldn't have really dropped a team or to a team like that. Neil, they have that loss, like I said, against Smyrna now, 2 losses in conference play. Not out of it just yet, but their margin for error is pretty much gone.
I just wonder if mentality-wise they came into this game off that loss to Smyrna.
Yeah,
still
it's
with
tough.
them.
It's tough.
And then Easton was in action hosting Colonel Richardson. And Easton, fresh off a loss the night before, they're looking to not make it 2 straight. And the Colonels, they'd get things started pretty quickly here. Jacob Zabron at the plate. He's going to hit this line drive to left for the single. And Jacob Hicks would come around to score and make this a 1-0 game. And then just a couple batters later, Dylan Niepert up to bat. He smacks this one to the gap and left. Make that a 2-run RBI double as Jarrett Bennett and Zabron would both come around to score. And CR, they're not quite done just yet. Garrett Niepert, he gets himself an RBI single. And just like that, CR is up 4-0. And the Warriors would finally settle down, though. We're going to see Mason Ledford. He's going to go and get this huge K to end the inning. And then Easton managed to score a couple runs, but Zabron held on. CR gets the out to end the inning, and CR wins this one 8-3 the final. In Easton, they have now lost 2 straight games. When you look at their schedule, you actually see more losses than wins, which is just not good. They lost 6. That's not a good record to have. And, you know, for their losses, they were both decided by 1 runs each. So if they can get their pitching going, I think that they can maybe come back around. I mean, they're all close games that they lost. It wasn't a huge blowout win.
Early on in the year, they started out so rough, but every one of them, like you said, were 1-run ball games. Colonel is the cream of the crop. I mean, there's not very many teams that are going to hang with them. But Easton, I expected a lot more things on them. They brought back Jack Wheatley. They brought back a lot of that team right now. I'm not quite sure what's going on over there. But if they can figure it out, they have the talent. They just kind of got to put some pieces together and kind of make a run at this thing. Well, it's on top of the game that everybody was talking about yesterday as Polytech was at home looking for another big conference win, squaring off against Sussex Central. And buckle up because this was a wild one. Crazy sequence here in the third. Bases loaded with 1 out. The ball gets hit directly in front of the plate. Now, Deron Doherty picks it up, appears to tag the plate, throws to first for the double play, or so we thought. The ump ruled he didn't touch home plate. Take another look. They would actually go on to score 3 runs in that inning. Golden Knights fight their way back, though. Doran Emmerich gets an RBI single right here to get it started. Then shortly after that, a blooper is going to go ahead and drop in right here as Trey Toppin comes around, makes it a 1-run ball game, and all of a sudden, palms are getting a little sweaty. Is going to game in the bounce. Head to the 7th inning. Runners on the corners in Central. Well, they get caught stealing right here, and the run down ensues, and the tag out will end the game as Kara Kasanov gets it done right there, the big out. And how about that for an inning? The Panthers go on to get the win, 8-7 the final. And a few things. Number 1, how do you sleep at night? Because that was terrible. Like, it was clear that he stepped on it. And everyone's going to say that, and you got to be able to make that call. There's no, I normally don't even like getting on refs, but there's no reason. That one is one you can't afford to miss in that situation.
Excuse.
The flip side of this is Sussex Central needs to stop their whining right now. That is in a third inning of a game, and people lost their minds over this. There's so much left in that game. It goes to the fourth, and then how do you lose? Making a mental mistake, getting off the bag. You brought that one on yourself, and you can hear people after the game talking about blaming the refs and that they cheated. Your man got caught getting off the bag, and you gave up the final run of the game. That had nothing to do with the umps at that point. That is a terrible loss and a terrible way to lose and a terrible way to give up a game if you're Sussex Central.
And you can't blame the entire game off that one play. Sure, 3 runs scored, but come on, make a comeback, make it happen. Yeah, don't blame it all on just that one single play.
Still early on in the game. You can't let something like that. Bad calls are going to happen regardless. But you can't let that interfere for you the rest of the game. That's what happened for them.
Yep, and then one team mentally they need to get a win is North Dorchester. They were hosting Mardela, and what a game this one ended up being. Hunter Niblett up to bat for the Warriors. He hits that ball to shallow center field, and Nick Harper, he's going to come around to score right here. But then here would come the Eagles. Peyton Leoski, he's going to go ahead and get an RBI single of his own, and A.J. Willie would go around and come home on that. And Mardela would be right back trying to answer them. Bases loaded. Jerome Thomas with a huge K to get out of the jam. And this game is going to extras. Top of the 8th, and the Warriors would break this game wide open. Ryan Tiemann gets a hold of that ball. He bobbles it, and Niblett scores the go-ahead run. And then now the bottom, the Eagles trying to get a walk-off. Niblett finished this game off the mound. They would get the ground out for the final out of the game. Mardela gets the win 12-9 the final. And North Dorchester has lost 8 games. Actually, they haven't even won a game at all. Their only win came from a scrimmage before the season even started. So they're on an 8-game losing streak, and it's just not looking good. They need to get at least one win to get their morale up. They have Kent Island next, and then they're going to go ahead and get Easton after Kent Island. So let's just hope. I mean, both these teams.
Those are 2 winnable games.
Yeah, Kent Island has also been kind of struggling down the stretch as well as they have. They haven't been winning by that much and losing by that much, so I think that would be a good matchup right there.
They've actually been playing pretty decently well. I mean, you look at Mardela. Mardela's now got, I think they're 8-3 after that in the year. They're a pretty solid team to this point. They were right there with them. They've had a lot of games where they've been in it. They just haven't been able to quite close them out. Kind of the reverse, actually, of Mardela, who's won a lot of close games. They had 2 walk-offs in their first 3 games. I mean, they're finding ways to kind of close it out. North Dorchester's still kind of need to figure that out. Well, we had a couple other really good games going on this week, including early on when Cape was at home on Friday taking on Delmar. Austin Elliott, you are a bad, bad man. Was dealing in this thing, had a no-no go into the 5th before Chris Richardson is able to break it up there with the single up the center. He comes right back, though, not phased, gets the punch out to end the inning. The Vikings then getting aggressive, saying, hey, why don't we go ahead and try and put this thing away. Quinn Donahoe hits this one deep to the gap. William Jarrell gets his motor going, decides to go ahead and, am I going to stop? Am I going to keep running? I'm going to go back? No, I'm going to keep going, and then gets tagged out at the plate, gunned down. The Cats save a run, but they couldn't buy a run was the problem because Elliott was dealing 16 strikeouts. The Vikings are going to get the win 4-0 the final.
And Crisfield was hosting Bennett. The Clippers' bats got hot in this one as Connor Banks rips this one. He's going to go ahead and get the RBI single as Cade Hurley would come around and score right here. And just a little bit later, Tyler Dunn, he's going to rip this one to left. It would go ahead and stop at the fence as he would get the RBI triple. And the Crabbers just trying their best to stay alive in this game. Jason Borden, he's going to get the K right there, but that's all he could do to slow down this Clippers. Hurley now up to bat, and he's going to go ahead and just hit this ball, blast it to deep right field, gets the 2-run RBI double, and then Tyler Shockley, he's going to go ahead and just put this thing away for them. He gets the RBI ground rule double. The Clippers get the win 13-0 the final.
That was a really unfortunate game for Crisfield because they got Bennett right after Bennett lost to Pocomoke. The first time ever in the history of the 2 schools that happened. And you know they weren't really happy coming into that, and Crisfield
morale was just down.
They caught a team that was angry, and you never like to have that happen. But it's time for our first commercial break, but coming up next, it's time to trade in the bats for some sticks. Lacrosse season is in full swing. Delmar taking on Bennett. We're going to have those highlights next.
We are the Mardela Warriors baseball team, and you're watching the Delmar Sports Insider.